All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about debates because we are only a few months away from the first presidential debate. We all know how important these debates are. The only way that conservatives are going to have a voice in this process is for the Republican National Committee to partner with conservative media. All right, so I want to give you a little history lesson. Prior to the 2016 election cycle, the RNC literally had zero influence over the stage which the Republican nominees were compared and evaluated and ultimately selected. The mainstream media apparatus literally dictated every aspect of the primary process debates, where they would be, who would moderate them, and when they would occur. Literally, when I started at the Republican National Committee, we had to ask for tickets. It was insane. All of that changed, though, when I proposed that the Republican National Committee insert itself into that process leading up into the 2016 cycle. The Republican National Committee created a new standing committee on presidential debates. That committee resulted in the first successful effort of either party to actually control and sanction the primary debate process. For the first time in history, the RNC was able to provide Republican candidates with a predictable schedule and ensure that every debate had a conservative element in it. CNN partnered with conservative-leaning Salem Media. That's the home of Dennis Prager and Hugh Hewitt and so many others, right? ABC News, they partnered with Mary Catherine Ham. She was a moderator, and they literally sat at the table questioning our candidates. They also partnered with the Independent Journal Review. At the time, that was a big deal. These were equal parts of the debate. CBS, when they came to question our candidates, had the Wall Street Journal's Kimberly Strassel at the debate table asking our candidates questions. Crazy as it should be, huh? Then let's talk about the schedule part of this. Starting in August of 2015, we held one debate a month. That first one, remember, was in Cleveland. Huge success, huge rating success. But then we allowed them to ensure that they were spread across states throughout the country. We weren't just all in Iowa or New Hampshire. We ultimately broadened the reach of the debates through several states, which ensured that we got to different places and people got to see and participate in a way that they never had before. Gone were those days of back-to-back debates in the same state answering the same questions exclusively by these left-wing moderators. Many at the time that I tried to do this back in 2016 said that the effort to take control of these debates was doomed to fail. But guess what? The will of the committee was firm, and we made history. We were successful. So here's the question. Why aren't we building on that? As we head into the 2024 presidential cycle, the RNC must look at what we did so successfully in 2016 and build on that, make progress. Specifically, they should ensure that the outlets and the moderators that question our candidates are conservatives. The candidates are seeking the Republican nomination from Republican voters. They're not seeking the acceptance of the media outlets that have expressed outright contempt for our party and our candidates. Why wouldn't we want our candidates to be asked questions that are on the minds of the people who are actually having to choose who to vote for? Novel, huh? I mean, think about this. How absurd is it that anybody at CNN, NBC, the Washington Post, Political, you name it, has a clue about the issues that grassroots Republican conservative voters care about? I mean, just stop for a moment. Do you really think that like CNN's Don Lemon cares at all about what an average voter cares about? I mean, this is the guy who said that Nikki Haley, a candidate for president seeking the Republican nomination, was past her prime. You had NBC's Andrea Mitchell lie about Governor DeSantis' position on the advanced placement tests in Florida. And then she had to issue an apology. Moreover, you've got all of these left-leaning outlets openly opposed to and biased against our last president, President Trump. None of them like him. And every one of these left-wing organizations was an open laptop denier. They literally interfered in the last election by suppressing that story of Hunter Biden's laptop in the lead up to Election Day. We now know, by the way, that several people would have voted differently had they known that. The media suppressed that story. They interfered. These are the same organizations that we're going to partner with. Are you kidding me? Each of them, by the way, also labeled legitimate questions as to the origins of COVID as misinformation. And every single one of them, everyone accepted the DNC-funded Steele dossier as a fact And then they took that letter from 50 plus intelligence officials as gospel truth instead of the political hit job that both of those were. Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's talk about how to solve this problem. Well, honestly, it's pretty simple. Instead of relying on these left-wing media organizations that are disgusted by the possibility of a Republican president, why don't we do something novel? Maybe we could take all of these conservative media outlets that have blossomed over the past few years and partner them with different media groups. So let's take Salem Media. I talked about that a moment ago. Partner them with Breitbart. Take Real America's Voice. Partner them with Turning Point USA, Rumble, TBN, CPAC, The Daily Caller, The Blaze, The Washington Times. You get it. I mean, we're not lacking for groups. We could get them to join forces and host a debate, help pay for it, get it out there. And if you think about it, for all those people who say, well, I don't know, would that have this wide ability for people to view it? Well, okay, as a caveat, how about we let C-SPAN, we permit them access to the live feed of any RNC debate. We can alleviate all of these viewer-related concerns to ensure that we have wide distribution. But let's solve the bigger problem. Instead of having moderators that would be hostile to our candidates, I mean, you think Chuck Todd, Jim Acosta, Martha Raddatz, John Carl, Andrea Mitchell are going to give our guys a fair shake? We need to have moderators that understand the issues of the right, of the conservative grassroots people and movement. Okay, who would those people be, Sean? Well, let's think about it. I'll give you a list. Tucker Carlson, Mark Levin, Alex Marlowe at Breitbart, Glenn Beck, Dan Bongino, Dennis Prager, Celine Zito, Joel Pollack, Molly Hemingway, Charlie Kirk, Liz Wheeler, Matt Boyle, Tom Bevan, Shregan, Dave Rubin. I mean, I'm not trying to be exhaustive here. The point is that the goal of moderators should be to reflect the pulse and the ideas of grassroots voters and ask questions that the audience cares about and will help them make a decision about who to vote for, rather than to generate a bunch of clicks and embarrassing moments and gotcha questions, right? Maybe that could be the idea. But if you think about it, the RNC, which is sanctioning these, has an obligation to both RNC, Republican voters and to our candidates. The obligation is not to a group of corporate media tycoons who despise the very values and ideals of our candidates and our party. Now, when I think back to 2012, 2016, people said that effort to take control of the Republican presidential debates in 2015, it was going to be doomed to fail. Nobody will go along with this. The candidates won't buy in. The media won't go along with it. But guess what? The RNC members were firm. And we made history. It worked. The DNC then actually followed the RNC's lead. Why don't we do the same thing that we did in 2016? Build on that success and provide a huge service to our candidates and voters. How about that? Well, if you enjoyed this video, click the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to make sure that you never miss another video.